two friends named Corey and Steve like talking about films and TV. They thought, hey, what if this was a show? That's how we got here, now you know. Wait, what's the name? That sounds terrible, go on. That sounds terrible, go on. We hope you stick around and have some fun right after our intro song. That sounds terrible, go on.
Welcome back, folks, to another fantastic episode of That Sounds Terrible, Go On. I'm your host, Corey.
And I'm Steve, the host. What's your favorite color?
Steve, no, I'm the host. We've been over this, man. You're not the real host.
What, are you saying I'm some sort of co-host?
Yeah, you're the co-host. Saying that you're the host just makes it so you're sitting on a throne of lies.
I do smell like beef and cheese.
And speaking of beef and cheese, we are covering another Christmas classic today with 2003's Elf, directed by Jon Favreau and starring Will Ferrell.
Woo-wee! I had a great time watching this. I'll tell you what, like I always do.
Show me anybody who can watch this film and not enjoy themselves, and I'm going to show you a reptile person.
Yeah, that's accurate.
This, quickly became a Christmas classic.
Oh yeah, instantly.
Well, I remember, growing up, this came out, I was 12, you would have been 13 when this came out, and just, it made a buttload of money. I remember that, but I remember, the commercials didn't really do it justice. But I just remember, people really grabbing onto this. And even though we were all getting older into that cynical, everything stupid type of phase, I feel like there was still a lot of love for this film, even though it came out towards the end of our adolescence.
Yeah, I mean, for me at least, it felt so subversive just because it was Will Ferrell. And, he was coming off of SNL and Old School when he was doing this, Anchorman. Will Ferrell was just, the coolest person.
Well, this was before Anchorman.
Is it? Oh, okay. Well, he was coming off of SNL and Old School.
Yeah. For his first film, oh my God, we'll get more into it as we go. But, Steve, it's that time of year where I stare out the window as the snow covers my lawn, and I think to myself, don't I know you?
Don't you?
Let's find out.
Let's.
All right, folks, kicking off our first question. In the film, Steve, we have little Michael opening Santa's book, reading off to the world what everybody wants for Christmas. So, Steve, I have to ask you, what would you say was the number one thing you wanted for Christmas growing up, whether you got it or not? I'm talking the present that you still think about to this day.
It was a pretty big deal when I got a proper, bike that wasn't a hand-me-down for Christmas one year. My parents set up this whole, scavenger hunt that took us all over the house, and then it ended on the front porch, and there was this big thing under a bunch of blankets, and it had my name on it. I ripped it off, and I screamed my head off because holy shit, this is a bike. This is like a legitimate bicycle. Gears, tires, handles, brakes. It had everything. Pedals. Boy howdy.
How about a chain? Did it have a chain?
Oh, it had a chain, buddy, and it was off the chain. Strictly metaphorically speaking,
because otherwise it wouldn't work, and that's just silly.
Right. Yeah, that would be a poorly designed bicycle
for sure.
But no, it was I loved that bike. That was great. Excellent bike.
What color was it?
It was blue. Dabba dee dabba die. Corey, what gift stands out to you from over the years?
I'd have to say I remember really wanting a Nintendo 64, specifically when Ocarina of Time came out. So it would have been 1998, so I would have been 5. No, wow, I can't math. So I would have been 7 years old at this time, and it was a gift given to me and my brothers by my uncle, and I will just give credit where it's due. Even though he was a really awful person, it was one of the few positive memories that I do still hold of him.
Fun fact, I recently brought my N64 from home back out here to LA, and I somehow am in possession of Ocarina of Time. Never played it.
What are you doing right now?
I'm doing a podcast.
Water Temple that hard, huh?
Yeah, just the other night played Mario Party for the first time.
Wait, you've never played a Mario Party at all?
I've played some of the sequels, but this is the original.
Oh, okay. I was going to say how have you not played at least one Mario Party by this point?
Yeah.
But okay. All right. You're forgiven. It's okay.
Look, I'm getting there. All right. We've all got our blind spots.
Question 2. let's get into something a little deep here. So at one point, Jovi, played by Zoe Deschanel, sings an unexpected duet with Farrell's Buddy whilst taking a shower in the form of one winter classic song, Baby, It's Cold Outside. So let's possibly lose some viewers by me asking you, Steve, the song, date rapey or just a representation of different societal norms?
All right. So I definitely have some opinions about this song. I acknowledge that it is a product of its time. That is how people flirted back then. It's a lot of like, you got to put up a show, got to be societal's expectations. You can't be staying over at a strange man's house overnight. And I get all that. And I get when she says, what's in this drink, that it's just an expression people said back then. I understand all of that. However, there's one line that makes me very much dislike this. And that is when she says explicitly, the answer is no, but the song keeps going and he keeps trying. And overall, I think glorifying ignoring consent as a romantic act, it's a product of the times. Maybe that was cool back then. It's not okay to do. No means no. That's where I stand on the song. Overall, I recognize that it's not as malicious as everyone says that it is, but it's not without sin. How do you feel about Baby, It's Cold Outside, baby?
I'm in the same boat as you, except I still, even though I don't like that line where when she explicitly says no and he keeps going, it really was a sign of the times at that point. I remember having the conversation with my Nana when she was alive about this song because I just wanted to know. I'm like, hey, was this just how it was back then? Like you had to kind of play the hard to get, even though you wanted to stay, you're like, oh, no, I can't. Like, even though, and a guy was supposed to consistently, persist coming after you. She told me, like, yeah, that's just how it was back then. And keep in mind, this is the same woman who, for her own pleasure, would sing songs like Camptown Races or She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain.
Oh, big fan of the public domain, that one.
Gotta love her for it and other reasons. But so I feel like from gathering that secondhand knowledge and listening to the song, I can enjoy it. I don't think anything of it. I feel like if updated versions of this song, not so much, because again, we know better now. And also, you're not going to top that original.
Yeah, people performing it nowadays, I'm not so. There's some songs that are better just left in the past.
Question 3. Let's end on a nice and simple note, one that we're not going to argue over. Steve, candy canes or sugar cookies? You only get one forever. Who you picking?
Sugar cookies, for sure. I like a more complex flavor than just mint. Candy canes are a nice occasional treat, but they get old real fast. Sugar cookies do not for me, especially when you got some frosting on there. Boof. Let me tell you. I'm there. I'm in. 100%. You can even make sugar cookies that look like candy canes. Put little peppermint balls on top of them. It's almost the same thing. Corey, which are you keeping?
I'm going to be keeping sugar cookies as well. I think you're right on the money. Like, you can add more to make them better candy canes, even though you have like different flavors of candy canes nowadays. Like, there's Kool-Aid flavored candy canes. We didn't have that as a kid. I'm sure it tastes delicious, but am I going out and spending my hard-earned money on that? Absolutely not. Plus, it's cold outside. I want something warm.
Yeah, baby. It's cold outside.
And now, I know you.
And I know you.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap Don't I Know You, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. All right, folks, I am here at Goblin's Den Tattoo out in the lovely Syracuse, New York, being currently inked by Leah, owner, operator, and a fantastic individual. Leah, how are you doing today?
We're doing good. Doing
really good, doing good. Am I doing good? Am I sitting good?
Yes.
Excellent, fantastic.
We're both hydrated.
That's the dream. Let's be honest here. So how long have you been tattooing for?
I have been tattooing for technically 5 years.
So tell me, what are your favorite tattoos to both design and put on people's bodies?
I think the biggest thing for me is for someone to be really inspired with their idea, really excited. That's always a plus, and not just like a last second kind of deal. Something that you can think about and be like, yep, this is how we're going to do it, critique it, special, all that jazz. But personally, when it comes to style, my drawing style is preferred anime, but I do like cartoons. I do like spooky, scary stuff. I like plants and stuff. A lot of people come to me for floral. But yeah, so I like more animated stuff that can be stylized. Kind of neo-traditional, but not so out there.
Well, you heard it here, folks. If you're looking for any of those kinds of styles or designs, you know exactly where you need to hit up. That is Goblin's Den Tattoo out in Syracuse, New York. What's the Instagram name?
Instagram name is Goblin's Den Tattoo. Same for Facebook. We're currently adjusting our social medias and getting them more active. So Instagram, Goblin's Den Tattoo. Facebook, Goblin's Den Tattoo. And my name is Leah Tran, if you're trying to look for me personally. We also have another artist, Sid, and Sid is also on there as well.
And folks, the Goblin's Den Tattoo is also a safe place for those of you who are LGBTQ+. So if you're looking for a shop that's both safe and not run by pieces of human garbage, then we can give you the guarantee that the Goblin's Den is the destination. Again, that's the Goblin's Den. Find them on Instagram or Facebook and book your next session today. Welcome back, folks.
Howdy.
Steve, this isn't about cowboys. We've been over this. This is about elves at the North Pole. Have you been paying any attention?
No.
Well, hopefully you'll pay some attention to our cast and crew!
Oh, it's the cast and crew!
That's right, folks. Cast and crew is part of the pod where we talk about some cast members, talk about some crew members. Now, are we going to be able to get to every single one of them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, including the musical.
Steve, no, unlike Santa, we just cannot visit all of those houses in one night. But folks, if we end up missing somebody that you believe that we should have talked about, please hit us up on our Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Kicking off, of course, we have the director, Mr. Jon Favreau, who also plays Dr. Ben and is the voice of Mr. Narwhal.
Huh.
Favreau is best known as Mike Peters in 1996's Swingers, of which he was also the director, Gutter in 1994's PCU, Foggy Nelson in 2003's Daredevil,
Episode 63,
and Happy Hogan in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's also known as the director of 2011's Cowboys and Aliens, 2005's Zathura, A Space Adventure, 2019's The Lion King live-action remake, and 2008's Iron Man, as well as its 2010 sequel, Iron Man 2. Now, if that weren't enough, he's also the creator of Disney Plus's The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. He has been nominated for 1 Critics' Choice Award, 5 Primetime Emmys, 1 Grammy, 1 WGA Award, and in 2023, he was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. What a visionary for this film.
He knew exactly how to use all of the tools that he had at his disposal. From what I understand, his sets are very like improv heavy, and he does a lot of just like riffing on the day. And I know this was no exception. Like things where Buddy first enters New York City and he's just like interacting with random strangers. Like they just went with Will Ferrell out into New York City and just like had him talk to random people. And they're just like so much of that magic comes from Will's improv skills and John knowing when and how to use them.
Absolutely was a smart idea on that. Like, especially when you have such seasoned actors here. Like, you've got Ed Asner on here. Let Ed Asner say whatever the hell he wants. He's going to knock it out the park.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mostly talking about being blown away by the scenery of everything. All these sets and how they look. If you're not paying attention to them, they're just background noise. But, like, if you look at them, the detail that went into every single set.
Yeah, especially when it's a set that Buddy has decorated. It all looks like it's all just found materials. Whatever he found was lying around. Oh my God, it's great. Paper chains, paper snowflakes, paper everything. Lego New York City, shoot.
Yeah, I'd absolutely say knocked it out the park. Totally nailed it. Was the correct choice for director.
Yes, and the choice of having all the magical creatures in the North Pole be stop motion, 10 out of 10.
Even though it was more costly, it needed to do that so this would feel like a Christmas special.
Exactly.
Next up, we have the writer, David Birnbaum. Birnbaum is best known as a co-writer for 2006's Zoom and the sole writer for 2003's The Haunted Mansion. He has been nominated for a Stinkers Bad Movie Award. And for good Reason, my God, those were the highlights.
Oof, I have not seen either of them, and that's okay.
I've seen both, and let me assure you, you are not missing anything.
Is Zoom one of those superhero school movies?
Zoom was the superhero movie with Tim Allen and Courtney Cox.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, she was there. So let's talk about the script here, or the writing, or just the idea of the story. First off, the idea of the story is a fresh take on the I'm going to find my home plot line. It's a very established world, especially in the North Pole, and they spend a lot of time in the beginning establishing that, which to me, smart.
Yeah. Like they take all the elements, the storybook-esque nature of North Pole lore, if you will, and yeah, they flesh it out. They make it feel like a real lived-in world, no matter how ridiculous it is and how like superhuman the elves are at making stuff. It works. And plot-wise, like this is mainly just Buddy trying to win over three different people. That's the plot of the movie. And it allows for a lot of comedy and a lot of heartfelt moments.
Well, but also, like during those heartfelt moments, I feel like they're all undercut just enough by humor. So the point where you're not sitting there like, oh, this is so corny. No, you know it's corny, you know it's cheesy, but you're still enjoying the ride because you're laughing at the same time.
Exactly. Love it.
Next up, we have, of course, the star of our film, a Mr. Will Ferrell as Buddy the Elf. Now, Farrell is best known as Mustafa in the Austin Powers franchise, Jacobin Mugatu in 2001's Zoolander, Federal Wildlife Marshal Willenholly in 2001's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Ron Burgundy in 2004's Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, Ricky Bobby in 2006's Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, Frank the Tank Rickard in 2003's Old School, Harold Crick in 2006's Stranger Than Fiction, Brennan Huff in 2008's Step Brothers, The Man with the Yellow Hat in 2006's Curious George, Franz Liebkind in 2005's The Producers, and Craig McDermott in 2009's The Goods. Live hard, sell hard. Oh, wait, that was just the 2000s. You'll also know him as the voice of the titular character in 2010's Megamind, returning as Ron Burgundy in the 2013 Anchorman sequel, Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues, Nick Halsey in 2010's Everything Must Go, returning as Jacobin Mugatu in the 2016 Zoolander sequel, Zoolander 2, Lord Business / The Man Upstairs in 2014's The Lego Movie and its 2019 sequel, The Lego Movie 2, the second part, Detective Alan Gamble in 2010's The Other Guys, Ghost of Christmas Present in 2022's Spirited,
Episode 66.
and most recently as the CEO of Mattel in 2023's Barbie. But wait, there's more! In terms of television, you'll know him as a cast member on Saturday Night Live from season 21 until season 28. He has currently returned to host the show 5 times. You may also know him as Shane Bitch Hunter Hunter on NBC's 30 Rock and D'Angelo Vickers on NBC's The Office. He has been nominated for 3 Daytime Emmy Awards, 19 Primetime Emmy Awards, winning 4, 2 Golden Globes, 6 Golden Razzies, winning 1 WGA Award, 5 Kids' Choice Awards, winning 1 Tony Award, and 15 MTV Movie Awards, winning 2. That's still not all, though, as in 2015 he was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and in 2011 given the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor.
I cannot think of another actor who has starred in more than one Christmas classic. He 100% commits to the role, and that is what makes this movie, honestly. If it was any other actor reciting those exact same lines, it would not have the same impact. Period.
It absolutely wouldn't. I mean, because we also know Will Ferrell nowadays as the man you call when you want someone to play a man-child. And that's exactly what Buddy the Elf is. Buddy the Elf at his core is a man-child because elves are pretty much like children at this point. So it just makes sense for Ferrell to be cast. Great choice. They also trusted him with this because this was his first starring role in a film.
Yeah, and he knocked it out of the park. He is just so invested in Christmas and joy and happiness and frivolity. You believe it 110%. Just f***ing magnificent.
No notes. Honestly, if we're going to talk about his performance overall, I have nothing to complain about.
Yeah, he's the perfect balance of funny and heartfelt.
Moving on, though, to James Caan as Walter Hobbs. Now, Caan is best known as Jonathan E. in 1975's Rollerball, Spud Spaldoni in 1990's Dick Tracy, Paul Sheehan in 1990's Misery, Sergeant Eddie Dohoon in 1977's A Bridge Too Far, and Sonny Corleone in the Godfather franchise, a voice he reprised for the 2006 Godfather video game. He has been nominated for 4 Golden Globe Awards, 1 Primetime Emmy, 1 Daytime Emmy Award, 1 Oscar, 2 Saturn Awards, winning 1, and in 1978 he was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Man, James Caan just really played a guy that you hated throughout the entire film.
Yeah, and a very believable one at that. Like, he is the workaholic adult who puts everything second to his job, does not give 2 goddams about Christmas. And even though he works for a children's publishing company, doesn't give a shit about kids either.
In all honesty, like, again, I don't have anything against his performance. I feel like he was absolutely the right choice. At the end of the day, though, the character, I just don't like Walter as a character. And James Caan's performance makes me not like Walter.
Yes, he is the biggest stick in the mud throughout the entire movie. He is the one that takes the longest to be won over by Buddy. And it kind of breaks your heart a bit because he's Buddy's dad.
Next up, we've got Zooey Deschanel as Jovi. Now, Deschanel is best known as Trillian in 2005's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy film adaptation, the voice of Bridget in the Trolls film franchise, Summer Finn in 2009's 500 Days of Summer, DG in the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries Tin Man, and of course, as Jessica Day in Fox's New Girl. She has also hosted Saturday Night Live 1 time. She's also been nominated for 1 Primetime Emmy, 3 Golden Globes, and 1 Grammy Award. I gotta say, we love Zooey Deschanel here, right?
Oh, absolutely. Big fans of Zoe at the pod.
Yeah, she's just a delightful individual. Always brings like that certain charm about her. Like, a lot of people want to write her off as the manic pixie dream girl because of 500 Days of Summer and from, the TV show New Girl. But I feel like this role kind of proves there's a bit more to her than that. She's very good at being subtle in her performances.
Yeah, and like Jovi is just the perfect archetype for the young adult who has lost all like childlike wonder and is just kind of beaten down by the world around them and the realities of being a grown-up and having a job.
I think, again, someone well casted at this point. Could there be somebody better? Possibly, but either way, another character here knocked it out the park. Go figure.
And she's blonde in this one.
Which is still weird to me.
It's so weird.
I can't think of another time where she was blonde. It's always been brunette.
Yeah, like I look at her in this and I'm just like, who's that girl? Who's that girl?
Is it Jess?
It's Jess.
And folks, that's going to be our cast and crew.
Yay, it's the cast and crew.
Next up, the generically named How It's Made.
Hey, how'd they make that?
As always, folks, with the generically named How It's Made, I have gone through and compiled an entire production history to the best of my ability. And I compiled all this information into one single document. This document, of course, I am presenting to Steve right now. He has not first seen this document before this moment. He's going to be reading it out loud to us, and we are going to get his reactions in real time. So, Steve, whenever you're ready, take it away.
In 1993, holy shit, David Birnbaum would write the script that would become Elf, with actors such as Chris Farley and Jim Carrey in the early runnings to play Buddy. The script would be passed around for a few years before eventually reaching Jon Favreau, and Jon was asked to direct. Favreau would find the original script to be too dark to interest him. He would later ask New Line Cinema to rewrite it when he realized they could make Buddy's World an homage to the Rankin Bass Christmas specials. Excellent choice. As we have said, uncredited rewrites would be done by Scott Armstrong, Chris Hensey, Adam McKay, hello, and Will Ferrell. Wanda Sykes would be cast as the Gimbals manager, but she ended up dropping out. Oh, she would have been good at that. I can see her yelling at Will Ferrell. That would be delightful. Principal photography would begin on December 9th, 2002. Filming would take place in New York City, Vancouver, and the Riverview Hospital in Coquitlam, British Columbia. According to Favreau, he had to fight very hard in order to keep the CGI to a minimum. During filming, Will Ferrell would become ill with headaches and insomnia throughout due to the amount of sugar he would consume during takes. That's why you have a spit bucket, folks.
The problem, though, is you're still putting the sugar in your mouth and it's going to dissolve. And now it's, even if you spit it out, like, it's still in there. You're still swallowing some sugar.
Well, we all must suffer for our art. One example is the scene where Buddy eats different candies and pastries with spaghetti. The scene had to be shot twice due to Pharrell vomiting during the first. Damn. That is dedication. During shooting, the film would make numerous references to Rankin Bass Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer animated special under the assumption that all copyright issues had been taken care of. However, this turned out to be an oversight when New Line's legal department advised that no permission had been obtained by the copyright holders for Rudolph. This would cause lawyers from New Line to begin showing up on set in the middle of filming, suggesting things such as Buddy's costume could be blue instead of red. Given that this would mean either reshooting all of the scenes or digitally color correcting his and other elf suits, Favreau fought against this. However, all the issues were later cleared when the legal team found that Rudolph was never properly copyrighted, so they were free to include any elements from the special. Amazing.
Could you imagine that? You're in the middle of shooting a multi-million-dollar film,
And lawyers are coming on.
and they're showing up and saying, hey, so this is all copyright infringement, so we're gonna have to do it all over again. If they had to do this, I don't think this film would have gotten made. I think they would have just, nope, we're done.
But then these lawyers are kicking up all this dust when none of them did the work to find that the copyright didn't exist.
To be fair, this would have been in 2002, and the internet was not what it was. They would have had to actually go searching or send like an intern, hey, you see all these rows of copyright? Have fun.
Wow, it's almost like they should pay someone to do that. On the last day of shooting, Favreau, Farrell, and a cameraman would drive around New York City, with Farrell jumping out of the car to interact with random pedestrians as Buddy. The footage was mostly used for when Buddy first arrives in New York City. Filming would wrap on March 7th, 2003. I love that guy that he thinks is Santa for half a second just happened to be out walking in New York City. They did not plan that. That's great.
What was great about that is some people they would approach prior and say, hey, can we give you money to use you in a movie that we're shooting right now? We're just going to improv a scene. Or they would do it after the fact. The Santa guy was after the fact.
Amazing. I love it. Elf would be released on November 7th, 2003, and would go on to make $225.1 million against a $33 million budget. Nice. It would go on to be nominated for 1 Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award, 1 MTV Movie Award, and 1 Teen Choice Award. The kids love it. Its popularity would spawn a Broadway musical in 2010, a video game for the Game Boy Advance, and a stop-motion animated Christmas special in 2014 called Elf, Buddy's Musical Christmas. It is routinely hailed as one of the greatest Christmas films ever made and regularly airs on television during the holiday season, rightfully so. And thus concludes the generically named How It's Made. Oh, that's how they made it.
All right, folks, before we get into our next segment, just another quick commercial break. Don't pout. Don't cry.
But why?
I'm telling you why. Folks, you've been asking about it for years. You come up to me, you come up to Steve, and you say, guys, where's the merch for the pod?
I know, right? Just leave us alone for 2 seconds, people.
That's right, Steve. We've been way too busy doing all types of other things, such as jumping jacks and putting together puzzles and
Documents.
tons of documents. But who has time to sit there and truly set up a merch store?
Not me, I'll tell you what. If only there was an easier way for us to open up a merch store to sell our merch to people.
Well, you know what, Steve? There is live right now. We have the That Sounds Terrible Go On podcast store, and it's all available on redbubble.com. Go to redbubble.com. Look up our store. It is TSTGo-pod. Again, TSTGo-pod. You'll see fun little things that we say on here. You'll find stickers, shirts, hats.
That's some high quality merchandise if I ever did see it right there.
So that's right, folks. Hit up redbubble.com, search TSTGo-pod, all one word, and we'll see you there.
Capitalism, baby!
Welcome back, folks.
Welcome.
Steve, I need me a good warm cup of cocoa right now. Would you mind getting me one?
Oh, sure. But on the way to the kitchen, I may just break down.
Oh, don't do this to me.
That's right, folks. The breakdown is part of the pod where we go through the entire plot, scene by scene, giving our takes as we go. Now, we may end up missing a scene or two here, right, Steve?
No, we're going through frame by frame.
See, listen, no, absolutely not. This is the holiday season. I got things to do. You have things to pretend to do. We just can't be doing this.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Well, now that Steve's on my side, folks, well, hopefully you're on my side. But if you're not, go ahead, reach out to us on our Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube page. Kicking off this breakdown in 3, 2. On Christmas Eve, a baby living in an orphanage crawls into Santa Claus's, played by Ed Asner, sack and is unwittingly taken back to the North Pole. When the infant is discovered at the workshop, the elves name him Buddy after his diaper's brand label. Buddy is accepted by the elf community and grows up believing he is an elf, but he learns that he is in fact a human upon reaching adulthood. So the framing device is Papa Elf sitting down, telling us the story of Buddy. He starts off by saying, there's 3 different jobs an elf can have. You have the cobblers, you have the bakers, and you have the toy makers. Personally, I was dying when we got the shot of the bakers, because obviously it's the Keebler Elves tree, and it bursts on fire, and if you listen closely, you'll hear one of the elves shout out,
I want to make shoes.
Oh, I missed that. That's great. The elf setting the tree on fire. It is just such great little touch. It's easy to forget with all the great moments that happen in this movie, but hilarious.
And it's nice that we kick off with a little bit of a joke before we really get into the plot of everything too. We kind of it's a nice way of welcoming you with a family-friendly joke of, a tree being on fire, I guess. But
yeah, it feels just like a little bit more modern humor in this very classical setting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, of course, we get more of that classical setting as we, cue the credits. They're very, very cute and really selling that Rankin Bass feeling that they were going for.
Oh, yeah. They got the swirly, twirly font. They've got the storybook page flipping. It feels very Christmas special.
And it works.
It works because of the contrast with Will Ferrell's performance. And also the elf that... Oh, God, I can't remember. Ming?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know who that is, right? That actor?
Ralphie.
Oh, yes. And the scientist that Jeff Bridges yells at.
In what?
In Iron Man. With a box of scraps! I just love to see Ralphie in other roles that aren't Ralphie.
I don't imagine that guy lives a happy life, though. He has to get so many residuals from this time of year because, they play that film 24/7. That dude's just got to be living his best life at this point, or I hope he is.
Me too.
But let's talk about the orphanage here. One of the things I felt like while watching this orphanage, usually when you hear the term orphanage, you think evil, mean people are running the orphanage and they're beating the children. Never got that feeling. This doesn't feel like an evil place. So in doing that, it just made the story already feel uncomplicated. It's a very simple, he was an orphan. He was at an orphanage, crawled into Santa's sack.
I think, one, the lighting of the orphanage, the spacing of the cribs, the presence of nuns all work together to make it feel very warm and inviting and nurturing. And then to top it all off, this is a place where Santa delivers toys to. So it's happening. It's great visuals there. Great design, great direction, great lighting. Shout out whoever the cinematographer was.
Greg Gardner, who also did Men in Black 2, Orange County, New York Minute, Son of the Mask. Oh God, Herbie Fully Loaded. Oh, it's not getting better. The Game Plan, it's still not getting better. Race to Witch Mountain. Oh God, no. Marmaduke, Beverly Hills Chihuahua 3.
Oh dear.
Barbershop The Next Cut. Oh, night school. Oh God, the war with Grandpa.
Well, he's got one good movie. But to be fair, is the issue with any of those movies the cinematography?
I don't know, man. Night school was pretty bad. We also get a real fun montage. We're showing Buddy growing up on some exposition is kind of sprinkled in regarding the elves, having to learn how to make computer chips because, well, we got to keep up with the toys kids want. You got Santa's sleigh runs off of Christmas cheer. And they also address the rumor that Santa isn't real and it's just the parents of children who did it. When Buddy hears this rumor and he says, that's absolutely ridiculous.
What about Santa's cookies? I suppose parents eat them too?
But he does make a good point with, who do they think puts all their toys under the tree? And everyone just rolls with it. That's, the fundamental flaw with any Santa story.
Well, you know what it really comes down to? It's in the married houses is where that happens. So the partner thinks that the other partner did all of the presents and they never talk about it because people aren't communicating this days and age, Steve. That's why there's so many divorces.
Sure. We don't need to worry about it.
We also get a great line here.
I'm a cotton-headed ninny muggins.
How much you want to bet that was improv?
Almost definitely it would be something Will Ferrell just pulled out of his ass. And it's such a great thing to call someone. So much fun to say.
But he's calling himself this when he can't make over 1,000 Etch-a-Sketches in a day. And what's really cool here is the positivity that is exuding from the elves around him, hearing him putting himself down. Notice they're not putting him down. They're not making fun of him. All they're doing is encouraging him by pointing out, oh, buddy, you're really good at helping with this. Or you're really good at helping with that. And yeah, it's done for jokes like, well, you could reach the smoke detectors and those got to get changed every 6 months, right? Like, to me, yes, it's funny, but it also helps to further establish the Christmas spirit, the positivity of the Christmas spirit lives and breathes at the North Pole.
Oh yeah, all about that Christmas cheer, baby.
Also, check the Easter egg flashback sequence where that fuzzy border is there and the whole waves that take up the picture. They're kind of like the daydreams of Ralphie in A Christmas Story.
What do you know, Joe Piscopo? You might be onto something there.
Papa Elf, played by Bob Newhart, tells Buddy that he was born to Walter Hobbs and Susan Wells, and that Susan put him up for adoption prior to her death. Walter now works for a book publisher at the Empire State Building in New York City, unaware of Buddy's existence. Santa reveals that Walter is on the naughty list due to his selfishness, but suggests Buddy could help redeem him with some Christmas spirit. The ridiculous visual gag of Buddy sitting on Papa Elf's lap is made all the better as you can see Papa Elf is straining, but Buddy is acting like it's another day. This is normal.
Yeah, he's like a Saint Bernard that still thinks it's a tiny little lapdog. And also just the effects of Will Ferrell being so much taller than all the elves is executed just perfectly in this. Like, that was still relatively hard to do in the early 2000s. Like, just coming off of Lord of the Rings had, obviously the best use of forced perspective and all the different effects they did, and Elf definitely benefits from that, but still not an easy feat to do.
Got to give credit to the production designers here and Favreau for overseeing that. Really did a good job, to the point where if nowadays, if you look for it, you can kind of see where maybe the green screen is or the little tricks are, but back then looked perfect.
Yeah, and that was one of the really impressive things about this movie back in the day too. There's Will Ferrell's performance, then there's also how amazingly real they made, or how believable they made the North Pole look.
20-year-old film, still killing it.
Absolutely.
Also, the list of things that Santa tells Buddy about New York City. The gum on the street isn't free candy. He tells him where the real Ray's Pizza is, and that peep shows
doesn't mean that they're letting you look at presents before Christmas.
Utterly hilarious. And the whole time, Buddy is just smiling yep, okay, yeah. And he still ends up forgetting about it because, as we see later on, he does eat some gum off of a subway entrance/exit.
And, I kind of go back and forth in my mind whether Santa is saying all these things to Buddy because these are all lessons he had to learn the hard way, or just because he knows the type of people that elves are. I'm split 50-50, honestly.
I would say it's probably because he knows, the kind of people that elves are, is that they're going to want to see the good in everybody unless really given a reason not to. And because of that, elves are naive, especially Buddy. Like, Santa seems to know all of his elves at the end of the day. He never sits there and goes, hey, you, what's your name? No, he knows every single one of their names. Fantastic Santa. But with that, he's also going to know their personalities. And he knows that Buddy means well, but sometimes Buddy means a little too well.
Yes, absolutely.
I'd also thought it was a really good idea to not just simply tell us Walter is on the naughty list, but to show us a real-time example. Like, they cut away to where he's telling a nun he's taking back all the children's books because she missed a payment on them.
But the children love the books.
It's so deliciously evil. Straight up Scrooging.
Buddy travels to New York and takes in the sights. Later, he finds Walter at work, but Walter mistakes him for a Christmasgram messenger and has him ejected. Walter's security guards sarcastically tell Buddy to go back to Gimbel's, a local department store. I like the touch of having the little side characters that we never expand on, like Mr. Narwhal, like saying,
bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad.
Really felt like a fun tribute to holiday specials where you would come across characters like this en masse and we would never see or hear from them again.
Yes. I love Mr. Narwhal's delivery. This is one of my favorite lines from the movie, something that I still regularly say. Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad. Also did not know that was Favreau. Love it. Love that he does silly voices. And I love that the other magical creatures are like frightened when Mr. Narwhal starts to come out of the water. Like, they play it up like it's going to be some big bad monster. And then it's just, oh, the friendliest little voice.
Well, I have a theory that Mr. Narwhal is actually a murderer, and that's why they were running. But he doesn't murder elves or humans, just animals. I have nothing to base that off of.
You heard it here, folks. Corey hates narwhals.
Listen, the fish is a monster, all right? Can't help it.
Well, it is what it is. I tried.
World's best cup of coffee.
If you've ever been to New York City, you know how many of these like signs and windows that make these claims are. They're everywhere. Every diner's like, world's best slice of pumpkin pie or world's best crescent roll, or literally just signs littered everywhere with this. So, of course, they find a place that has that sign, and Buddy is just so happy for them that he has to burst in and share it to the surprise of all of the staff and customers of this diner.
It is such a fun little detail. It shows like how naive he is and how not used to like deception he is. Just everything is what it appears to be on the surface for Buddy. And this is probably just like the funniest way to illustrate that.
Also, the childlike wonder of hitting all of the buttons on the elevator because it looks like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny that. It's super fun to press a button and then see it light up.
You're not wrong. I haven't really come across those as much anymore. Not like the whole light up. It's usually just like the simple LED ring nowadays. And that's, I don't know, I feel like we lost something as a country when we made that change.
Yeah, they don't make buildings like the Empire State Building anymore.
Let's talk the first meet between Walter and Buddy here. So Walter is, what I can best describe, is politely annoyed at Buddy's existence. But the moment he mentions Susan Wells, look at him, he gets super serious. And you can then see like there are some layers to this character. Like, first he's like, he's trying to just be polite, like, yeah, buddy, you're doing a job, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, who sent you?
Yeah, he gets a little, apprehensive, defensive, like, oh, someone's really trying to screw with me. Someone's trying to bring up a traumatic thing from my past. And he's not happy about it.
Also, Farrell's song had to be improvised, right?
Had to be.
At Gimbel's, Buddy meets... Oh, do you have something else?
No, I'm just gonna interject that I like to whisper too. Amazing moment.
At Gimbel's, Buddy meets Jovi, an unenthusiastic employee with whom he is instantly smitten. Hearing that Santa will be at the store to make an appearance the following day, Buddy redecorates the store overnight. However, discovering that the Gimbel Santa, played by Artie Lang, is not the genuine article, Buddy unmasks him and causes a brawl that the manager breaks up. Buddy at Gimbel's. My favorite moment has to be the escalator, because I feel like we all have done this at least once in our childhood, where you did like the attempted split thing while the escalator is going up.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta test your own limits. You gotta see how far you can stretch. And what better instrument than an escalator? But Yeah, I love how just baffled and terrified he is by this thing. Like, out of all the adversity that he came through to get to New York City, this is the scary thing.
Think about it, like, there's no stairs in the North Pole. It's all ranch style houses, man.
It's for the little folk.
Notice that the manager's name tag says Wanda.
I did not notice that.
Yep, they did that because, like you had said, Wanda Sykes was supposed to play the role but dropped out. They just decided not to change the name tag and thought it would be funnier.
It is. That was a good choice.
Shout out to Faizon Love as the manager.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. The dude had like just the right amount of intensity and intimidation to make it funny.
Yeah, he's almost got like police captain vibes, and I love it.
Let's talk the meet cute here. Out of context, as usually is with this film, Buddy's behavior is very, very creepy.
Yep.
But it's that childlike innocence that really makes it work. You know, I also feel like the relationship works because, and I'll bring that point up. Did you want to comment more about the creepiness of it?
No, just like his lack of understanding of sarcasm is part of the charm of Buddy, part of the naivete.
I also feel like this relationship works for these two characters due to Jovi's lack of enthusiasm.
Yeah, I mean, opposites attract. She's a cynic. He is a true believer. She's beaten down by the world. He can't get enough of it. He's in love with everything. He loves life. They balance each other out.
I'll just say this, though. This contains the shower scene of Buddy hearing Jovi sing while she's taking a shower and singing Baby It's Cold Outside, the female parts, and he joins in while initially whispering the male parts until it eventually hits that big build up Baby It's Cold Outside ender. Outside of the context, again, really big oof, but within the context, absolutely hilarious.
Oh yeah, he has no idea that this is a shower. He just hears someone singing a Christmas song, and he wants to sing a Christmas song too, because the best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for everyone to hear. And oh my god, when she tells him not to look, and he covers his eyes and runs into the lockers.
Get out! Don't look at me!
10 out of 10 slapstick. You gotta believe he hurt himself a little bit doing that.
He'll make residuals forever. It's fine.
This is true.
Let's talk the Buddy v. Gimbal Santa showdown here. If you notice, this is the first time we've actually seen Buddy act seriously towards someone. And to me, it's because he believes that they're doing something that hurts the integrity of Christmas.
Yeah, he doesn't understand what a mall Santa is supposed to be. He just knows the one Santa, just the guy. So to have them say Santa's coming and then this man in a fake beard shows up instead, he's insulted, he is appalled, he needs everyone to know that this is not real Santa. And this fake Santa man, what a hothead. What a short fuse.
Artie Lang is perfect for that role.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Love seeing him get angry and like physically try to kill Buddy, destroying the entire store in the process. And you kind of understand his frustration because Buddy's just out here blowing up his spot and ruining Mall Santa for all the kids. But also, like, he's swinging a metal pipe at the man. But I do like that the Mall Santa also gets fired in addition to Buddy.
What's he going to do? All right, go take a $5, come back with some coffee and put the beard back on. You'll be fine. No,
Yeah,
these kids
no.
are done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That would be horrifying to see as a kid.
Walter reluctantly bails Buddy out of the police station and takes him for a DNA test, which confirms that Buddy is his biological son. Dr. Leonardo convinces Walter to take Buddy home to meet his stepmother, Emily, played by Mary Steenburgen, and half-brother Michael, played by Daniel Tay. Buddy's strange behavior annoys Walter and Michael, but Emily insists that they take care of him until he recovers. Michael warms up to Buddy after they defeat a gang of bullies during a snowball fight and encourages him to ask Jovi out on a date. Again, more credit to the set designers here, because even this jail cell has the vibe of simplicity, and that there's not any kind of evil about it. Like, you don't feel Buddy is in any actual danger while he's sitting there.
Yeah, no, because he's this big, imposing man in tights. Like, who's going to mess with a guy in tights? But he, you feel his fear. You feel his confusion. Because, like, from his perspective, he was doing the right thing, standing up for Santa.
I feel his interactions with the family feel like that's what Buddy would do. Yeah, he has maple syrup up his sleeve. And of course, he's decorating the entire apartment over the course of like an hour. And of course, he tried to get his dad to join into a tickle fight. Like none of this was like, oh wow, that's the character. It just felt like a very lived in character at that point.
Definitely. And I love like the family dynamic here sets up 3 different levels of acceptance for Buddy. So you got Emily, who's just on board right away. Oh, let's just take care of this sweet poor boy. Let's do X, Y, and Z and just be as accommodating as possible. Michael is sort of on the fence about this weird dude in tights who's in his home and says he's his brother now. And then Walter just hates everything. And that sets up 2 of the 3 plot threads in this movie, which is Buddy winning over Michael and Buddy winning over Walter. And then that snowball fight is really where he gets Michael on board. That's the quickest of his 3, not targets, but targets.
Well, I think the important thing about the snowball scene is he got to show Michael that, no, I really am an elf from the North Pole. Yeah, sure, whatever. Like he's making fun of him about it the whole time. And then the snowball fight happens. And he's just busting out like mountains of snowballs in 30 seconds. Like if you listen closely, you can actually hear Buddy making all the snowballs at breakneck speed when Michael just makes the one, and it cuts back over to Will Ferrell holding like 1,500 of them or whatever.
Yeah, it's a great device that they put in that he's terrible at everything by elf standards, but like superhuman.
And the very next scene, we've got Michael and Buddy. They're all running around gimbals, just acting like children. And one of the things I noticed at this point is this is the first time we've seen Michael acting like a kid. And I also feel that's because he feels so comfortable around Buddy that he feels like he can act like a kid. Because if you notice, his dad, completely no nonsense. He has to act more closed up around him. Mm-hmm. And even later that night, Emily even calls Walter out when he's complaining about Buddy, saying Michael is like actually happy for once.
And also, even like when we see Michael at the school and he's around his friends, he's, you know, Mr. Cool Guy, not a goofy child who's just carefree and having fun with the world. Buddy is really the one person that can get through to that aspect of him.
So this might be my favorite physical gag in the entire film, but Michael and Buddy, you know, decorating the tree. Michael goes, "Oh man, we got to put the star on."
Oh my God, yes.
Buddy, I got it. Just jumps up, and then you're like, "That's funny," but then the whole tree falls over at the same time,
and then it's never addressed again.
Nope, it's never. That's what I love so much about this film. When like some wacky antics happen, it's very rarely ever called back upon. It's just like we're just letting it happen. It's fine. We don't have to focus on this.
It's great.
Just fucking keep picturing it. It's for me, it's the pause. It's literally the pause. Just up there. And it's that 1, 2 falling over.
It's incredible. Shout out to what I assume was the stuntman that did that.
It also could have been Ferrell for all we know. I mean, he was young.
It could have been, but we don't see his face.
That's fair. Shout out stuntmen everywhere. How about that?
Absolutely. They do not get their due. They deserve a category in the Oscars. They deserve a union. Wait, no, they have a union.
They deserve a better union.
Yeah.
Any stuntmen ever want to come on the pod? Open invitation.
Oh, man. I wish I hadn't burned that bridge with that girl I hooked up with last year. Too bad.
Was she a stunt?
I mean, she was a stunt driver. Yeah, she was so cool.
You make up with her right now.
Oh, buddy, that ship has sailed.
Give me your number. I got it. The next day, Walter reluctantly takes Buddy to work with him and uses Buddy's naivete to send him down to the mailroom. Buddy gets drunk on a coworker's whiskey, thinking it's syrup, and ends up throwing a party in the mailroom. That night, Buddy has a successful date with Jovi, during which they fall in love. Walter completely selling the mailroom by acting excited for the first time in the entire film. But it's all a ploy just to get Buddy out of his hair.
Yep, he knows how to play, this kid. Oh, you just act excited and happy about something and Buddy will be on board.
Did you notice the quick cameos?
What, Kyle Gass and Andy Richter?
Absolutely. I love that they're the writers who are brought in to pitch something else, but instead they just say, what if we bring someone else in to write the book?
Yeah, the way they present everything they say is just like perfect corporate stooge. They got the hands going in unison, and they say stuff like this. We get Miles Finch.
Let's talk the mailroom here real quick.
Yeah.
Look at the glaring differences in how everyone else is interacting with Buddy as compared to Walter. Even the most cynical of people are going along with having a tickle fight with Buddy down in the mailroom. It's no wonder why Walter's on the naughty list.
Yeah, people just be having more fun down in the mailroom where they don't have to wear ties and they can just kind of be to their own devices.
Speaking of being to your own devices, how great was that gag when the secretary says, hey, whomever is down in the mailroom needs to talk to you right now. I think he says like Chuck or whatever. It doesn't matter. Is on the phone, needs to talk to you. And I'm like, what's the problem? What's going on? And it just cuts down and Buddy is just doing all of these dance moves. Shout out to whoever was doing that, because that was definitely a double at that point.
Yeah, 100%.
But mind you, the song is, of course, Whoop There It Is by Tag Team. Classic. But the way they cut back to Walter, they just cut back to him holding the phone out, and you can hear Whoop There It Is through the phone. And he doesn't, like, set the phone down. They don't cut back to the mailroom for anything else. They're just like, that's it. We just needed his reaction to hearing the song. That's all we needed.
Yeah, excellent. Less is more.
This film is so good when it comes to less is more. Like, it has these big moments, but again, like I said, it doesn't call back to them. It just rolls with it.
Yeah, keeps it moving. Nice, tight hour 37.
All right, let's talk the big date here. What does he do first off? Blindfolds her and brings her to the world's best cup of coffee diner. Now, I know we just said, like, they don't do a lot of callbacks. This, to me, was really, really great because, as we talked before, she's very cynical. He's very, like, positive about everything. He is trying to show her the world through his own eyes, and starting with the things that made him very, very excited when he first got to the real world. World's best cup of coffee. They're doing the whole running around in the revolving doorway at one point, and it starts getting her to open up about herself.
Yeah, she finds herself having fun doing these stupid little things just because they're fun. The cynicism is starting to melt away, as it were.
And I feel like it was completely thrown away when he brings her to, like, a very large Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, isn't this, I can't believe how big it is. And she just kind of looks at him like, come on, come with me. And then, of course, brings him to the Rockefeller Christmas tree, which, for everybody listening, if you don't know, that is always the largest Christmas tree in the entire world.
Is a very big tree. But also, don't go there during Christmas time. It's a miserable place.
Go look at it from a distance. If you try to get up close, you're not going to. Although one time, I did get the fist bump Questlove.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I was the only one in the crowd who noticed. We kind of looked at each other, did a head nod, and I went, fist bump? And he's like, yeah. He was with, like, this smoking hot white woman, but, you know.
Love it. Love that for him.
Man was living his best life.
He's on a quest for love. But yeah, her showing him the 30 Rock tree is definitely, like, her turning point, where she's finally, like, on board with the elfin wonder.
I love it, man. It's so great. Especially, like, when you could tell, like, she's probably born and raised a New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever talked to those people, or really anyone who's lived in New York for, like, 10 plus years, the joy of what makes that city special is generally something they don't actually put out and show very often. Like, emotion about the city isn't like, oh yeah, this is the greatest thing on the face of the planet. It's not really a thing. Like, it's like the city kind of turns people a little cynical. So to see her take him to a tourist trap, because let's be honest, that's what Rockefeller Center really is at its core, shows the magic of positivity.
It's beautiful. We love to see it.
Meanwhile, Walter's publishing company is failing after their latest book flops. Walter's boss, Fulton Greenway, played by Michael Lerner, expects Walter to have a new book ready by Christmas Eve. Walter and his team secure a meeting with best-selling children's author Miles Finch, played by Peter Dinklage. But Buddy interrupts the meeting and mistakes Finch, who is dwarfism, for an elf. Buddy unintentionally insults Finch before the latter attacks him and angrily leaves the meeting, upon which Walter loses his temper and harshly disowns Buddy. Heartbroken, Buddy writes an apology note on an Etch-a-Sketch and leaves Walter's apartment. This Mr. Greenway came right in and had everything at the ready for what he's bringing up to Walter and why. Like showing that he is the side of Walter's life that is no nonsense.
Yeah, going back to earlier in the movie where Walter discovers that the last 2 pages of his latest book are just missing from it and decides, it would be too expensive to fix this. Kids don't care. Just put it out. Immediately what Greenway leads with when he comes in, putting it right in his face, telling him that he's, on thin ice, this close to being fired. He's got to turn in a hit or else. Yeah, you kind of feel for Walter a bit.
Let's talk the Miles meeting here.
A tribe of asparagus children, but they're self-conscious about the way their pee smells.
I can almost guarantee you somebody has pitched that idea in a serious manner.
Oh, I'm sure. Kids love anthropomorphized vegetables.
Unfortunately. I also love the Miles character, like the intimidating presence that he brings with him despite his stature. Like all of these guys who know him and know the power he have are absolutely terrified of him. They are treading so lightly. Buddy walks in, interrupting the meeting, sees him and goes,
I didn't know you had elves working here.
Something notable about Peter Dinklage so that he's made it like the point of his career to never take roles where dwarfism is the joke or like diminishing or any sort of just like lampooning of dwarfism. Like he's always in a role that transcends that and lifts and is their own well-rounded character. That's no exception here. The movie definitely makes Buddy in the wrong for this mistake that he's made over and over again. And it's definitely not Miles Finch that's the butt of the joke. The joke is Buddy's an idiot.
Again, the whole scene without context, Buddy comes off really bad. But with the context, this is funny. It also helps that like everybody else in the room isn't laughing along to Buddy's jokes because they don't find it funny. Like it's a progressive scene if you really want to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you also have to love how Miles completely wrecks Buddy's day here. Like he flips him 3 times, gives him like a rear choke.
Yeah. Miles Finch definitely comes out on top.
And now to one of my favorite throwaway lines in the entire film.
I'm sorry I ruined your lives and crammed 11 cookies into the VCR.
I want to know, after the first like 5 or 6, why didn't you think maybe this isn't the move?
Because more is better. More cookies fix everything. And I love how insanely fast he is with an Etch-a-Sketch. Just something as simple as writing a note is like faster than handwriting.
That's elf life.
Straight up.
Upon finding Finch's notebook full of ideas, Walter and his team scramble to create a book to pitch. As Walter prepares to pitch the book to Greenway, Michael arrives and informs Walter of Buddy's departure. Realizing his mistake, Walter quits his job and walks out with Michael to find Buddy. So I talked about this a bit where like Walter is just not a likable character whatsoever. And in my opinion, this doesn't really change that for me. It's just way too sudden. I don't see any kind of gradual change in him from the moment we meet him until now. It's just very generic. Oh, flip the switch. It's good. He's fine.
Yeah, we never see him like really care about being a dad before this. And like that's supposedly the straw that breaks the camel's back is the boss is talking to his kid.
I would have to say this is the worst part of the script.
They just needed it to happen for the movie.
Yeah. And credit where it's due. This doesn't ruin the film for me. It's a very quick, like 3-4 minute scene, and then we just move past it.
Yeah.
Side note also, for anyone who finds a notebook full of ideas and decides you want to turn that into books, that's called plagiarism. Maybe you don't want to do that to somebody who's really powerful in your industry, because I'm pretty sure he's got better lawyers than you.
Oh, yeah. And probably more than one copy of those ideas.
That whole idea of them just felt very, very dumb, honestly. Like the whole, like, oh, we got all of his ideas right here. He's going to know, like the second you release any of this, he's going to know that you stole the idea from him.
He's going to realize fairly soon that he doesn't have his notebook anymore.
Meanwhile, Buddy sees Santa's sleigh crash in Central Park, attracting a large crowd. Santa explains that the sleigh's engine is lost and cannot fly without it due to a shortage of Christmas spirit. Buddy finds the engine and reunites with Walter and Michael. Walter apologizes to Buddy for how he has treated him and finally accepts him as his son. Here we have the moment of Buddy being able to find what he's really been looking for this whole time, a sense of belonging. He finds this in Walter, accepting him for who he is and acknowledging that he is his son, and for also being the only one in all of New York City that's able to help Santa in this crisis.
Yeah, and specifically, I love that we got the scene earlier with Papa Elf teaching Buddy how to work on the engine. You got to figure they're probably the only two elves that understand this engine too.
Yeah, there's probably only a handful because the rest of them are so busy, making Etch-a-Sketches or what have you. Yeah. I just want to call it a very creepy moment that I caught on this rewatch when the news reporter is talking to people and they come across the one guy and the guy's like keeps complimenting her like, wow, you're so good at your job. You got a great mouth for newscasting.
Yeah.
What?
And she plays it off like a pro.
Well, she is New York City 1, I think. I don't know. I don't care.
Whoa. That is news reporter Charlotte Dennen to you.
You looked that up, didn't you?
Maybe.
After Buddy takes them to meet Santa, Michael takes Santa's list and reads it out in front of television news cameras, proving that Santa is real. A group of Central Park Rangers, who are angry at Santa for placing them on the naughty list, chase the sleigh as Buddy tries to reattach the engine. Jovi leads the crowd and those watching on television in singing, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which raises enough Christmas spirit to fully power the sleigh without the engine. They take the time and the effort to set up these Central Park Rangers correctly. Keep in mind, they are dropped in for the last 5-6 minutes of this film, but you know everything you need to know about these people right off the bat. The ominous music, you have their faces all covered by just enough shadows, and then the little snippet of the news reporter saying that
and their controversial crowd control tactics at the Simon & Garfunkel concert in '85 are still under investigation.
Just a great little detail. And excellent choice keeping their faces obscured, easy to dehumanize them and just make them this imposing, vague enemy. I love that we get the shot of the horse's breath in the cold New York air. It's all just very, very sinister. This is the second time where they do something that Lord of the Rings also did very well. I got like Ringwraith vibes from them.
You're stealing one of my little bits here, but that is what Favreau's intention was. He wanted them to appear like the Ringwraiths and give you that exact feeling.
Yeah, 100%. He did it.
One thing I do need to point out about the writing here, this whole ending is so contrived, but it is entertaining. You can't walk away from everything that just happened and not feel some kind of warmth in your heart, even if it's just from how corny all of this was.
It's a bit of a stretch how all the Christmas cheer spreads throughout New York City so quickly, and especially with the cheer being the song Santa Claus is Coming to Town of all Christmas carols. It's obvious why they picked it, because we need Santa, but it's a cheesy song, and it's a cheesy moment.
Well, the majority of Christmas songs, the classic Christmas radio songs are pretty cheesy, so.
Yeah, but it fits the vibe of the North Pole. It fits the vibe of Buddy. And I do like the little touch that the crowd doesn't see Santa until they've already basically renewed their belief in him. Kind of echoes what Santa was saying earlier, that, it's not about seeing, it's about belief.
By the following Christmas, Buddy writes a book about his life, which becomes a bestseller and allows Walter to establish his own publishing company. Buddy also marries Jovi and brings their newborn daughter, Susie, to visit Papa Elf. Buddy reading his children's book to a room full of children, again, it just feels right.
I just assume that they brought in all these kids, didn't tell them what was going on, and then just brought out Will Ferrell in a costume and had him read a book to them. I have nothing to back that up. I will not look into it, but that is what I assume happened here.
And then, of course, to close out the story, Buddy sits on Papa Elf's lap.
Yep, he's still Papa's little boy at the end of the day. And you gotta believe that Buddy wrote this book and illustrated it over the course of 20 minutes.
It would have been 15, but he had to drink some hot cocoa.
Naturally.
And folks, that is the breakdown.
Oh, we broke right down. Just like Santa's sleigh.
We sure did, Steve. Now, real quick, I'm going to go out, pick up some Christmas cheer. If I can't find it naturally, I'm going to get store-bought. Is that okay?
I guess.
Hey, folks, did you know that we're a couple of corporate whores? We will do whatever you say for money. That's right. We'll give an ad that promises the world to your potential customers for whatever you're trying to sell. Is it true? Doesn't matter. Is it going to work? Still doesn't matter. Give us $5, give us $10. We'll make all your dreams come true as long as your dreams are limited to having your product hawked on our podcast.
But Steve, what if I don't have an advertisement written for you?
Well, for a small extra fee, we can write one for you, aka make one up on the spot and half-ass it.
That's right, folks. If you have any interest in advertising with us, please hit us up on our Instagram at That Sounds Terrible Pod, or find us on Twitter by looking up That Sounds Terrible, Go On.
Slide into our DMs so we can slide into your ads. We're going to do an ad for you.
That's right, folks. Fill our bank accounts so we can line your pockets with that sweet, sweet internet money. Welcome back, folks.
Howdy, you made it.
Oh, they sure did. And you know what, Steve? Those elves are making toys. But do you know what we're making?
Bread.
No, Steve. We're making some
little bits. Oh, just a little bit.
That's right, folks. Little bits, the part of the pod where we get to those things that we didn't get to say. Maybe some fun stuff that we learned along the way. So, Steve, you got any bits?
Yeah, just want to point out the detail of Buddy's new best friend in the mailroom being 26 years old. It's just such a great little detail that they throw in. It's one of those things that they never go back to as just a throwaway joke. But just that actor delivering that line, spectacular. It's got to be at least 40 in that, and we love him for it. That's life in the mailroom, baby. Corey, you got a bit?
Terry Zwigoff was originally offered to direct the film. However, he turned it down in favor of another Christmas film, 2003's Bad Santa. Two completely different films at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm glad that they went with the movies that they went with.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to watch a Jon Favreau raunchy Santa comedy.
Yeah, it might be fun, but it wouldn't be the classic that Elf is.
Steve, you got a bit?
Just also pointing out how another great little throwaway joke near the end when the news report is happening and they're trying to speculate on what's happening, you know, some people are saying they saw Santa. They show this grainy footage of Buddy the elf walking through Central Park in a way that is very clearly mimicking the old grainy Bigfoot footage, especially like the way he walks and the way they freeze on it. It's just such a silly thing. It has no reason to be in there, and I love it for it. You got a bit, Corey?
With this being such a popular film, Steve, you and other people, of course, been asking, where's the sequel?
Where's the sequel, Corey?
Well, I'll tell you, Steve. The rumor of a sequel started back in 2013 when Favreau was being interviewed, and he stated that he was interested in making a sequel, which would be titled Elf 2 Buddy Saves Christmas. However, later that year, Farrell would state he does not want to make the sequel. Then, in January of 2016, Favreau would then state again that he still feels like a sequel could happen. In February, Farrell would again state that a sequel was unlikely, as he is generally reluctant to do sequels unless there was a story that can justify it. And then in 2020, it was actually revealed that while on set, Farrell and Favreau did not get along because Favreau wanted the film to have this Christmas special feel all about it and not be cynical, where Farrell wanted to do more of a satire film. So I think given that their vision wasn't exactly the same, combined with the fact that Farrell, thankfully, won't do a sequel unless there's a story that's worth doing it for, we're never going to get a sequel to this, and I am more than happy about that.
Just one little thing, though. Farrell did Anchorman 2. Was the story of Anchorman 2 really that compelling that it justified a sequel?
It got us the line, "You pipe-hitting bitches."
Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember very little of that movie, honestly, except for the giant fight at the end.
That's fair. I went to go see that film on Christmas with someone who I pretty much consider a little brother to me, and a girl that I ended up dating shortly after that film. And that was that was just a night of bad decisions. So,
Yeah, well, what can you do?
Little bits!
Oh, just a little bit.
All right, folks, now it's time for everybody's favorite segment.
The Untitled Ben Affleck segment?
That's right, Steve. It's As Played by Ben Affleck.
Untitled Ben Affleck segment.
Now, for those who never listened in, As Played by Ben Affleck
Untitled Ben Affleck segment
is when we choose one character from the film we just watched to replace with Ben Affleck. Now, there are 3 eras of Ben Affleck that we have to choose from, so we choose a character to replace with Ben Affleck, what era, and why. First off, we have the Good Will Hunting era Ben Affleck, which is when he was the indie darling and just starting to get into action films. Next up, we have the Jiggly era Ben Affleck. This is the rom-com starting around the release of the Jiggly film. Finally, we have Batfleck era Ben Affleck, where he's older, more chiseled, and got that beautiful salt and pepper beard. Now, with that being said, Steve, who are you replacing with Ben Affleck? What era, and why?
I'm going to be replacing Michael Lerner as Fulton Greenway, Walter's boss at the publishing company, with Batfleck era Ben Affleck. And that is because I think Walter needs a really imposing figure coming down on him and threatening his job. And Michael Lerner did provide that, but I think Batfleck would be way more intimidating. You don't want to say no to Batfleck.
I could see that. Yeah, I mean, Michael Lerner definitely has a intimidating presence in his own, but yeah, that's a good choice. I can't argue with that.
Right on. Corey, who are you replacing with Ben Affleck, what era and why?
I would have to unfortunately replace Amy Sedaris as Deb, Walter's secretary, with Jiggly era Ben Affleck. I like the idea of this young, kind of douchey looking assistant trying to make it into the publishing world, just trying to find his big break or what have you. I think just replace him with Amy Sedaris and all the lines are still the same. It would totally work.
Do you still call him Deb?
Yes, short for Debin. So for those who can't picture that, that is in fact a B in place of a V.
Love it.
White people be naming kids.
Beautiful.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap up As Played by Ben Affleck.
Untitled Ben Affleck segment.
Now, before we finish up here, Steve, just one final question. Would you watch this film again?
100% I would. This is a certified Christmas classic. Even a cynic like me can't help but love it. I pretty much watch this every Christmas, and I don't think the following Christmases are going to be any different. I'm there. I'm on board. Love me some Buddy the Elf. This and Spirited. And Nightmare. Those are my big 3. And Christmas Story, fine. Those are my big 4. That's it. Corey, would you watch this again?
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like it's been a few years since I've seen it, and I did pick up a few things extra here while watching it this time. There is just something about this film at the end of the day. Like, it's very generic in a lot of ways, but Will Ferrell's performance has so much heart in it. It just makes you want to shout with Christmas cheer, loud enough for all to hear.
Absolutely.
And folks, that's going to wrap up 2003's Elf. We did it.
We did it. Look at us.
Well, Steve, since we're done wrapping up these presents here, what are we hitting next week?
Next week, we are visiting my personal favorite Christmas movie, Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's a Halloween classic. It's a Christmas classic. It's honestly just a fantastic film, but we're going to get more into that next time. Until then, I've been Corey.
And I'm Steve.
Goodbye.
See ya. Sleepy Horse. Played by Ed Asner's Sack. Adam McKay. Hello. He's still Papa's little boy at the end of the day.